Hey everyone, and welcome to this week of Pharmacy Job Market Report. I'm Alex, and I am talking today about unsustainable reimbursement for pharmacy, overdose drug deaths, and of course, what happened this past week in pharmacy jobs, and how all of this should be influencing you in your career, what you should be looking out for. So let's jump into it. Actually, first, grab your coffee. Make sure you got something nice and warm. Hopefully, this morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. So, first up is unsustainable reimbursement. So, this comes out of Washington. The Washington State Pharmacists Association, the National Community Pharmacists Association, and the National Association of Drug Chain Stores kind of all stood together and they made a statement to say that the reimbursement rates are unsustainable and the lowest in the country and less than half of what pharmacists are paid in every neighborhood state. So, if you didn't know, CMS recently approved new laws in January in Washington that said, hey, we're going to be paying basically less. We all know this. I think we've all know that the reimbursements are constantly getting worse and worse over the years. It's getting harder and harder to compete with the big chains. And so the community independent pharmacies, there are more of them apparently that are opening up, but I would say that many of them are not competing against those chain stores. What does this mean for you and the pharmacy job market? Well, last week we actually saw Intermountain Healthcare close, I think about 25 pharmacies, displacing about 250 people. That was in Utah, though, close to Washington. But I think we are continuing to see this shift. We're seeing chain stores kind of become their own thing, their own conglomeration, their own lobbying power. And we're seeing I would say, what we want pharmacy to become, what we want them to be promoting more patient care, more individualized patient interactions. And we're seeing a shift away from, I would say, productization of pharmacy. But people in Washington, watch out. We likely are going to be seeing more independents closing. And if we're thinking about where is the opportunity, I think it's getting away from traditional models of pharmacy. I think if you're looking for a fulfilling career, you should be looking to more of the local places that focus on that individual care, the individual pharmacy. Hey, Janon, thanks for commenting. Um, and honestly, I think there is a budding, ripe career for people in law. We we know quite a few JD PharmDs that are out there. And if you have any interest in law or policy, oh, hot dog, there's going to be a lot of money being spent and on both sides for the future. So if you have any interest in policy, procedure, public health, law is potentially a great direction, as well as public health. We're going to be seeing more and more policies and more things getting complicated in the Medicare system. All right. I should say medical system. Moving on. The CDC recently reported the 2020 US drug deaths. It was crazy. Rose 30% higher in comparison to the year prior. It's really sad to look at this number, 93,000 national deaths. And that was just the ones that were reported. Now, I think people speculate, people could say things like, well, there are COVID related factors to this, but overall, this is a really sad factor to see. The vast majority of these deaths are related to dispensed medication. Heroin, not really, there's some I would say, new laws in certain states that are kind of allowing it in certain addiction facilities, but the vast majority of these deaths are dispensed medications, opioids. So what does this mean for you and the pharmacy job market? It means we need pharmacists at the forefront of this problem. We need pharmacists fixing this problem. We don't need to rely on PhD people. We don't need to rely on doctors. We are the ones directly giving this medication. We should be the ones trying to solve it. And so if you have an interest or a curiosity about opioids, pain treatment, and addiction treatment, because that's how we should be treating this, is as a disease, then there are lots of new openings in places. There are drug rehab facilities that are opening up. There's research facilities, opioid treatment facilities, prescription drug monitoring programs. All of these facilities need pharmacists, and this is a great place for you to get involved. And for our final story of the week, it comes from JobRx and what happened to the job market last week. So, overall in the United States, over the last 7 days, we saw 1,600 new pharmacy jobs opening. And we saw that the vast majority of them are full time. Now, again, this is a point that I keep making over and over again when I bring up this report from our strategic partner, JobRx, that many employers don't define what their job is. It could be part time, it could be full time. This is a place for you as a pharmacist to negotiate, to begin to ask questions, to begin that relationship so that you can talk to people before you apply, increasing your chances for an interview. And what I found was interesting is that the number of community pharmacists has new openings has decreased in comparison to the number of new health systems. So, I believe last week the numbers were about 60-30, 65-30% in comparison to this week's 45 or 50, 54 to 44%. And obviously, the vast majority of these jobs are staff pharmacists on the front lines. While we continue to see clinical pharmacy jobs opening in hospitals, that's great. And once again, no surprise, majority of these jobs, Texas, California, Florida, although Indiana saw a spike recently. And just look at that over the last 12 months. The COVID hiring spree, I think, is over. We can call it. We need to be prepared for it. Those that are hired as COVID pharmacists, you need to prepare your resume. You need to be looking because we think that this pandemic is getting close to being over, and the job market is kind of saying, yeah, we don't need more. We don't need more help. So that is it for this week in pharmacy job market trends and data. I'd love to know what sort of things you would like to see in this job market report. This is the third week doing it in a row now on Thursdays. I want to do one more and test a few more things and see if you like it. Hey, Jennifer from Hamilton. Cool to see you here. I'd love to know what questions you have about the job market, what things you would like to know that we can do some research on and pull into this report. And hope you enjoyed your coffee and this little break during your day. Hopefully it was your lunch period or something like that. And thanks for hanging out with me. Enjoy the rest of your week and hope you have a great weekend. See you later.